everybody. I hope you're doing good. Thank you for joining me. It's such a beautiful day outside. I thought that I would sit out here and enjoy the beautiful sun setting and the roses and all the flowers and read God's word to you. Last night was a long Bible reading, but it was very, very good. So it was the longest one I've had. So if you didn't get last night's video, then it was very, very good. Talked a lot about how God, He wants to have a relationship with us. I equate it to how I feel about my daughter. I'm dealing with empty nesting. My daughter is 20 years old, and I miss her terribly. And I just want to be with her. I don't like her not living with me. And I don't like dropping her off at her residence and not taking her home with me. I just want to be close with her. And if that's how much I love my daughter as a human being, imagine how much the Lord loves us, and He wants to have a relationship with us. He wants to be close to us. So yesterday was we talked a lot about being close to the Lord, putting Him first, not having any idols in your life, worshiping the Lord, and He will, He'll be there for you. He will protect your enemies. He will protect your enemies. He will protect you from your enemies. He will protect you from your enemies so you won't be at war with them. It was very, very good. Very good. So anyhow, let's get into it for today. Today is June 10th. 1 Kings 15, 16 through 22, 895 BC. War between Baasha and Asa. There was constant war between King Asa of Judah and King Baasha of Israel. King Baasha of Israel invaded Judah and fortified Ramah in order to prevent anyone from entering or leaving King Asa's territory in Judah. Asa responded by removing all the silver and gold that was left in the treasuries of the temple of the Lord and the royal palace. He sent it with some of his officials to Ben-Hadad, son of Timberon, son of Hezion, the king of Amram, who was ruling in Damascus, along with this message. Let there be a treaty between you and me, like the one between your father and your mother, your father and my father. Sorry. Slow your roll. I read too quickly sometimes. Let there be a treaty between you and me, like the one between your father and my father. See, I am sending you a gift of silver and gold. Break your treaty with King Baasha of Israel, so that he will leave me alone. Ben-Hadad agreed to King Asa's request and sent the commanders of his army to attack the towns of Israel. They conquered the towns of Ijon, Dan, Abel-Beth-Makkah, and Al-Kilareth, and the land of Naphtali. As soon as Baasha of Israel heard what was happening, he abandoned his project of fortifying Ramah and withdrew to Tisra. Then King Asa sent an order throughout Judah requiring that everyone, without exception, help to carry away the building stones and timbers that Baasha had been using to fortify Ramah. Asa used these materials to fortify the town of Geba in Benjamin and the town of Mizpah. 2 Chronicles 16, 1 through 10. In the 36th year of Asa's reign, King Baasha of Israel invaded Judah and fortified Ramah in order to prevent anyone from entering or leaving King Asa's territory in Judah. Asa responded by removing the silver and gold from the treasuries of the temple of the Lord and the royal palace. He sent it to King Ben-Hadad of Aram, who was ruling in Damascus, along with this message. Let there be a treaty between you and me, like the one between your father and my father. See, I am sending you silver and gold, and break your treaty with King Baasha of Israel, so that he will leave me alone. Ben-Hadad agreed to King Asa's request and sent the commanders of his army to attack the towns of Israel. They conquered the towns of Ijon, Dan, Al-Beth-Makkah, and all the store cities in Naphtali. As soon as Baasha of Israel heard what was happening, he abandoned his project of fortifying Ramah and stopped all work on it. Then King Asa called out all of the men of Judah to carry away the building stones and timbers that Baasha had been using to fortify Ramah. Asa used these materials to fortify the towns of Geba and Mizpah. At that time, Hanani the seer came to King Asa and told him, "Because you have put your trust in the king of Aram instead of in the Lord your God, you missed your chance to destroy the army of the king of Aram. Don't you remember what happened to the Ethiopians and Libyans and their vast army with all of their chariots and charioteers? At that time you relied on the Lord, and he handed them over to you. The eyes of the Lord search the whole earth in order to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him." Ooh, let me read that again. The eyes of the Lord search the whole earth in order to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him. What a fool you have been. From now on, you will be at war. Uh-oh. We should have our hearts fully committed to the Lord. That means we do not go our own way. We do not go in the way that we think is right. Thinking about divorce, thinking about all these things that might be on your mind, you need to go to the Lord first for everything. Wow. Verse 10, Asa became so angry with Hanani for saying this that he threw him into prison and put him in stocks. At that time, Asa also began to oppress some of his people. Ooh, Asa is not as good as we thought he was. Last night, Asa was a rock star. He was just loving the Lord and doing everything that he was supposed to. Man, see how easy it is for us to just go the wrong way? We have to constantly be on top of it. 1 Kings 16, 1-7, the summary of Baasha's reign. This message from the Lord was delivered to King Baasha by the prophet Jehu, son of Hanani. I lifted you out of the dust to make you ruler of my people Israel, but you have followed the evil example of Jeroboam. You have provoked my anger by causing my people Israel to sin. So now I will destroy you and your family, just as I destroyed the descendants of Jeroboam, son of Nebat. The members of Baasha's family who die in the city will be eaten by dogs, and those who die in the field will be eaten by vultures. The rest of the events in Baasha's reign and the extent of his power are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Israel. When Baasha died, he was buried in Tisra, and then his son Elah became the next king. The message from the Lord against Baasha and his family came through the prophet Jehu, son of Hanani. It was delivered because Baasha had done what was so evil in the Lord's sight, just as the family of Jeroboam had done, and also because Baasha had destroyed the family of Jeroboam. The Lord's anger was provoked by Baasha's sins. Wow. 1 Kings 16, 8-14, 886 BC. Elah rules in Israel. Elah, son of Baasha, began to rule over Israel in the 26th year of King Asa's reign in Judah. He reigned in the city of Tisra for 2 years. Then Zimri, who commanded half of the royal chariots, made plans to kill him. One day in Tisra, Elah was getting drunk at the home of Arza, the supervisor of the palace. Zimri walked in and struck him down and killed him. This happened in the 27th year of King Asa's reign in Judah. Then Zimri became the next king. Zimri immediately killed the entire royal family of Baasha, leaving him not even a single male child. Gosh. He even destroyed distant relatives and friends. So Zimri destroyed the dynasty of Baasha as the Lord had promised through the prophet Jehu. This happened because of all the sins Baasha and his son Eli had committed, and because of the sins that he led Israel to commit. They provoked the anger of the Lord, the God of Israel, with their worthless idols. So their whole family, their relatives and distant relatives, everybody was killed because of their worthless idols, and they led Israel astray. Wow. My goodness. You know, there's so much idol worship going on right now in the world. Wow. The rest of the events in Elah's reign and everything he did are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Israel. Zimri rules in Israel. 1 Kings 16:15 through 20, 885 BC. Zimri began to rule over Israel in the 27th year of King Asa's reign in Judah, but his reign in Tisra lasted only seven days? Only 7 days, a week. The army of Israel was then attacking the Philistine town of Gibbethon. When they heard that Zimri had committed treason and had assassinated the king that very day, they chose Omri, commander of the army, as the new king of Israel. So Omri led the entire army of Israel up from Gibbethon to attack Tisra, Israel's capital. When Zimri saw that the city had been taken, he went into the citadel of the palace and burned it down over himself and died in the flames. My goodness. For he too had done what was evil in the Lord's sight. He followed the example of Jeroboam and all the sins that he had committed and led Israel to commit. The rest of the events in Zimri's reign and his conspiracy are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Israel. Wouldn't you like to see a movie on TV that was like an exact, like everything that happened in the Bible here, that they could make a movie out of it? I mean, the violence, my goodness. Wow, I would love to see a movie that was completely accurate, biblically accurate. Now, and not Hollywood's version, but the actual piece by piece, word by word of what was written. 1 Kings 16:21-28, 885 BC. Omri rules in Israel. But now the people of Israel were split into two factions. Half the people tried to make Tibni, son of Gineath, their king, while the other half supported Omri. But Omri's supporters defeated the supporters of Tibni. So Tibni was killed and Omri became the next king. Omri began to rule over Israel in the 31st year of King Asa's reign in Judah. He reigned 12 years in all, 6 of them in Tisra. Then Omri brought the hill now known as Samari from its owner, Shemer, for 150 pounds of silver. He built a city on it and called the city Samaria in honor of Shemer. But Omri did what was evil in the Lord's sight, even more than any of the kings before him. He followed the example of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, and all the sins that he had committed, and led Israel to commit. The people provoked the anger of the Lord, the God of Israel, with their worthless idols. The rest of the events in Omri's reign, the extent of his power, and everything he did are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Israel. When Omri died, he was buried in Samaria, and then his son Ahab became the next king. Ooh. I heard Ahab was a bad dude. I don't mean bad as in, oh, cool, yeah, dude, bad, right on. I mean bad as in he was bad. He was not good, an evil king. So let's just see. Ahab rules in Israel, 1 Kings 16:29-34, 874 BC. Ahab, son of Amrari, began to rule over Israel in the 38th year of King Asa's reign in Judah. He reigned in Samaria 22 years. But Ahab, son of Omri, he was an evil. Oh, God. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, even more than any of the kings before him. And as though it were not enough to follow the sinful example of Jeroboam, he married Jezebel, the daughter of King Ethabal of the Sidonians, and he began to bow down and worship Baal. Oh, Ahab was awful. First, Ahab built a temple and an altar for Baal in Samaria. Then he set up an Asherah pole. He did more to provoke the anger of the Lord, the God of Israel, than any of the other kings of Israel before him. Ahab was it starts with an A. I ain't saying anymore. Ahab was a bad dude. It was during his reign that Hiel, a man from Bethel, rebuilt Jericho. When he laid its foundations, it cost him the life of his oldest son, Abram. And when he completed it and set up its gates, it cost him the life of his youngest son, Segub. This all happened according to the message of the Lord concerning Jericho, spoken by Joshua, son of Nun. 1 Kings 15, 23, 24, 870 BC. Summary of Asa's reign. The rest of the events in Asa's reign, the extent of his power, everything in it, everything that he did, and the names of the cities he built are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Judah. In his old age, his feet became diseased, and when Asa died, he was buried with the ancestors in the city of David. Then Jehoshaphat, Asa's son, became the next king. 2 Chronicles 16, 11 through 14. The rest of the events of Asa's reign, from beginning to end, are recorded in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel. In the 29th year of his reign, Asa developed a serious foot disease. Yet even with the severity of his disease, he did not seek the Lord's help, but turned only to his physicians. So he died in the 41st year of his reign, and he was buried in the tomb he had carved out for himself in the city of David. He was laid on a bed perfumed with sweet spices and fragrant ointments, and the people built a huge funeral fire in his honor. 2 Chronicles 17, 1 through 19, 870 BC. Jehoshaphat rules in Judah. Then Jehoshaphat, Asa's son, became the next king. He strengthened Judah to stand against any attack from Israel. He stationed troops in all of the fortified towns of Judah, and he assigned additional garrisons to the land of Judah and to the towns of Ephraim that his father Asa had captured. The Lord was with Jehoshaphat because he followed the example of his father's early years and did not worship the images of Baal. So if you don't worship Baal, the Lord's going to stay with you. He sought his father's God and obeyed his commands instead of following the evil practices of the kingdom of Israel. Right on. Right on, Jehoshaphat. So the Lord established Jehoshaphat's control over the kingdom of Judah. And all the people of Judah brought gifts to Jehoshaphat, so he became very wealthy and highly esteemed. He was deeply committed to the ways of the Lord. He removed the pagan shrines and Asherah poles from Judah. In the 3rd year of his reign, Jehoshaphat sent his officials to teach in all the towns of Judah. These officials included Ben-Hail, Obadiah, Zechariah, Nathaniel, and Micaiah. He sent Levites along with them, including Shemiah, Nathaniah, Zebediah, Eshel, Shemariah, Jehonathan, Adonai, Tobijah, and Tobijah Adonai. Whatever. I would just call the guy Tob. What's up, Tob? Because it's just... He also sent out the priests Elishama and Jeroam. They took copies of the book of the law of the Lord and traveled through all of the towns of Judah, teaching the people. Then the fear of the Lord fell over all of the surrounding kingdoms, so that none of them wanted to declare war on Jehoshaphat. That's what I was saying. God will cause your enemies to fear you. He will protect you against your enemies. So the fear of the Lord fell over everybody, all the kingdoms, so that nobody wanted to war with Jehoshaphat. They left him alone. And the Lord did that. Some of the Philistines brought him gifts and silver as tribute, and the Arabs brought 7,700 rams, 7,700 male goats. So Jehoshaphat became more and more powerful and built fortresses and stored cities throughout Judah. He stored numerous supplies in Judah's towns and stationed an army of seasoned troops at Jerusalem. His army was enrolled according to his ancestral clans. From Judah there was 300,000 troops organized in units of 1,000 under the command of Adonai. Next in command was Jehoahan, who commanded 280,000 troops. Next was Amasiah, son of Zechari, who volunteered for the Lord's service, with 200,000 troops under his command. From Benjamin there were 200,000 troops equipped with bows and shields, and they were under the command of Elidad, a veteran soldier. Next in command was Jezobad, who commanded 180,000 armed men. These were the troops stationed in Jerusalem to serve the king. Besides those, Jehoshaphat stationed in the fortified towns throughout Judah. 1 Kings 17, 1-7. Elijah fed by ravens. Now Elijah was from Tishbe in Gilead, and he told King Ahab, "As surely as the Lord, the God of Israel, lives, the God that I serve, there will be no dew or rain during the next few years until I give the word." Then the Lord said to Elijah, "Go to the east and hide by Kerith Brook near where it enters the Jordan River. Drink from the brook and eat what the ravens bring you, for I have commanded them to bring you food." So Elijah. I should know how to pronounce Elijah. I'm sorry. I'm so used to not being able to pronounce so many names that we all know who Elijah is, right? Okay. Let me read that again. Then the Lord said to Elijah, "Go to the east by Kerith Brook, near where it enters the Jordan River. Drink from the brook and eat what the ravens bring you, because I basically commanded them to bring you food." So Elijah did as the Lord had told him and camped near Kerith Brook, east of the Jordan. The ravens brought him bread and meat each morning and evening, and he drank from the brook. But after a while the brook dried up, for there was no rainfall anywhere in the land. Just like Elijah had said. Wow. Alrighty then. Well, that is it. So thank you for joining me for today's reading. And I mean no offense to anybody who is Hebrew or who speaks this language, and I am just tearing up these names of these people. But I just never took the time to study Hebrew or study the language to be able to pronounce it properly. I probably should have done that before I started reading the Bible, but maybe I'll do that on my spare time. Yeah, right. What spare time? But I would like to be better at speaking those names next year. I don't know if there's some online Hebrew class, something I could listen to that'll show me how to pronounce those names. But nevertheless, you got the message. Well, thank you for being here, and I hope you have a blessed and wonderful evening. And join me tomorrow as I read to you some more. God bless.